The worn-out shoes, the patched-up jeans, the endless nights spent balancing spreadsheets and dreams, they were all part of David Clarke's quiet struggle to keep his little family afloat. He thought his greatest challenge was making ends meet, providing for his son, Leo, after a devastating loss. But a simple request for a Halloween costume, one that involved cardboard and bottle caps, would soon launch them into an unforeseen spotlight, a moment captured by a stranger's lens that would change everything, proving that true artistry and a father's love could be found in the most unexpected places. Before we carry on, please hit the subscribe button to make my day, and let me know where you are watching from in the comments. David Clarke traced the worn seams of his son Leo's teddy bear, a silent testament to countless cuddles and whispered secrets. At 37, David carried the weight of a single parent, a burden made heavier by the echoes of laughter that no longer filled their modest two-bedroom apartment. Life had dealt a cruel hand 2 years prior, snatching away Leo's mother, Clara, in a sudden, senseless accident, leaving David to navigate the choppy waters of grief and fatherhood alone. His days were a relentless cycle of his 9-to-5 data entry job, stretched thin by evening freelance gigs, all aimed at keeping their heads above water. Every bill was a negotiation, every grocery trip a strategic exercise in budgeting, and every unexpected expense a fresh jolt of anxiety. Yet, amidst the financial tightrope walk, there was Leo, a vibrant, imaginative 6-year-old whose boundless energy and infectious giggle were David's constant anchors. Leo's innocent questions and unyielding optimism were a daily reminder of why David fought so hard, why he pushed past exhaustion and despair, always striving to offer his son a semblance of normalcy, a childhood filled with joy, despite the pervasive shadows. The arrival of autumn, with its crisp air and falling leaves, brought with it the much-anticipated whisper of Halloween. Leo, his eyes wide with anticipation, had been sketching designs for weeks, his imagination running wild with fantastical creatures and heroic figures. This year, his heart was set on being a robot, not just any robot, but a colossal, gleaming protector, a mechanical marvel of his own invention. "A giant robot, Dad," Leo declared one evening, his voice brimming with uncontainable excitement, with flashing lights and giant arms that can shoot lasers. David smiled, a familiar ache in his chest. He desperately wanted to give Leo everything, to fulfill every whimsical wish, but the reality of their financial situation was a constant, sobering counterpoint to Leo's grand visions. A store-bought costume, even a simple one, felt like an extravagant luxury, a splurge they simply couldn't afford without sacrificing something essential, like groceries or the ever-present stack of bills. As Leo continued to describe his dream costume, David's gaze drifted around their small apartment, scanning the mundane objects of their daily lives. His eyes landed on a stack of cardboard boxes, remnants from a recent move, tucked away in the corner. Then, his gaze moved to the overflowing recycling bin, where empty milk jugs, plastic bottles, and a myriad of bottle caps lay jumbled together. An idea, initially a faint spark, began to flicker, then to glow with increasing intensity. Could he, a man whose artistic endeavors rarely extended beyond stick figures, truly construct a robot worthy of Leo's imagination, using nothing but discarded trash and a healthy dose of creativity? The challenge was daunting, but the thought of Leo's beaming face, the sheer joy of seeing his dream realized, however humbly, fueled a renewed determination in David. It wouldn't be easy, but it would be a testament to his love, a tangible expression of his commitment to giving Leo the best possible childhood, even when resources were scarce. The following weeks became a blur of frantic activity after Leo had fallen asleep. David transformed their tiny living room into a makeshift workshop, the faint glow of a solitary lamp illuminating his nightly endeavors. The aroma of cardboard dust mingled with the faint scent of drying paint as he meticulously cut, folded, and shaped. He raided the recycling bins of friends and sympathetic neighbors, collecting a motley assortment of materials. Large appliance boxes became the torso and legs, smaller cereal boxes were repurposed for the arms, and various plastic containers were transformed into intricate robotic components. Bottle caps, painstakingly glued in rows, became futuristic buttons and rivets, lending a surprisingly authentic industrial feel to the otherwise humble materials. Every discarded item, once destined for the landfill, was now imbued with a new purpose, a piece of Leo's dream taking tangible form under David's careful hands. The process was not without its frustrations. Tape refused to stick, paint ran, and cardboard sometimes buckled under the weight of his ambitious designs. There were moments of exasperation, of tangled wires and glue-stained fingers, when David questioned his own sanity, wondering if he had bitten off more than he could chew. Yet, each time he felt a flicker of doubt, he would conjure Leo's excited face, his innocent belief in his dad's ability to create magic, and that image would rekindle his resolve. He consulted online tutorials, watched countless videos of DIY costume makers, and even called his older sister, Sarah, a gifted artist, for advice on painting techniques. Sarah, living several states away, offered enthusiastic encouragement and practical tips, reminding him that the most beautiful creations often came from the simplest materials and the most heartfelt intentions. As the days dwindled towards Halloween, the robot began to take on an impressive, almost imposing form. It was surprisingly tall, easily towering over Leo, with broad shoulders and articulated limbs that David had ingeniously crafted using flexible cardboard strips. He even managed to incorporate a few battery-powered fairy lights, salvaged from an old string of holiday decorations, into the helmet, giving the robot the desired flashing lights effect Leo had so excitedly envisioned. The metallic silver spray paint, a single can, carefully rationed, gave the cardboard a surprisingly realistic sheen, and strategically placed black accents mimicked the joints and panels of a genuine machine. It was a masterpiece of repurposed materials, a testament to resourcefulness and boundless paternal love. The night before Halloween, as David carefully placed the final touches, gluing a last series of bottle caps onto a forearm, he stepped back, a profound sense of accomplishment swelling within him. It wasn't perfect, not in the factory-made sense, but it was magnificent. It was unique, it was made with love, and he knew, with an almost aching certainty, that Leo would adore it. Halloween morning dawned, crisp and bright, carrying with it the undeniable scent of autumn and the joyful anticipation of children. Leo, practically vibrating with excitement, bounced out of bed at an uncharacteristically early hour. David, despite his own exhaustion from the late-night crafting sessions, felt a surge of energy watching his son's infectious enthusiasm. The moment of truth arrived. He carefully helped Leo into the robot costume, piece by meticulously crafted piece. The large cardboard body slid over Leo's small frame, the arms extended just enough to allow him to reach for candy, and the legs, ingeniously designed with elastic straps, allowed for surprisingly fluid movement. When David finally placed the helmet on Leo's head, adjusting the tiny fairy lights that now blinked merrily, Leo let out a gasp, a sound of pure, unadulterated wonder. He stood before the full-length mirror, a magnificent, gleaming robot, his small frame transformed into a towering protector. "Dad!" Leo exclaimed, his voice muffled but overflowing with joy. "It's amazing. It's even better than I imagined." He spun around, the cardboard arms swiveling with surprising grace, the bottle cap buttons catching the morning light. David watched him, a lump forming in his throat. This, he thought, this unbridled joy was worth every late night, every glue-stained finger, every moment of frustration. It was a tangible reminder of the boundless power of a father's love, a love that could transform cardboard and trash into a dream realized. He pulled out his phone, snapping a dozen photos, wanting to capture every angle of this triumphant moment, every detail of the costume he had poured his heart into. The initial hours of trick-or-treating were a blur of delighted squeals, the rustle of candy wrappers, and the endless parade of pint-sized superheroes, princesses, and ghouls. Leo, as the magnificent robot, was an undeniable hit. He moved with a charming clumsiness, his large cardboard arms waving excitedly as he accepted handfuls of candy. Neighbors, usually polite but reserved, stopped to admire the costume, their eyes widening in surprise as they realized it was entirely homemade. "Did you make that, David?" they would ask, their voices filled with genuine awe. "That's incredible!" David, beaming with paternal pride, would humbly confirm, explaining the recycled materials with a quiet satisfaction. He felt a deep sense of contentment, a warmth spreading through him that had nothing to do with the crisp autumn air. This was what Halloween was about, he thought. Not extravagant purchases, but shared joy, creativity, and community spirit. As dusk deepened, casting long, spooky shadows across the suburban streets, they ventured into the heart of their neighborhood, a vibrant tapestry of decorated houses, glowing jack-o'-lanterns, and costumed revelers. They turned onto Elm Street, a particularly popular destination renowned for its elaborate Halloween displays and generous candy offerings. The street buzzed with activity, a chaotic symphony of laughter, music, and the excited chatter of children. It was here, amidst the joyful pandemonium, that their paths intersected with Mark Jenkins. Mark was a street photographer, a man in his late 20s with an artistic eye and an uncanny ability to capture the fleeting moments of human connection and raw emotion. He carried his camera like an extension of his arm, always on the lookout for that perfect shot, the one that transcended mere documentation and told a story. He wasn't a professional in the commercial sense, not yet, but his online portfolio, a carefully curated collection of candid urban scenes, had garnered a respectable following among photography enthusiasts. Tonight, he was immersed in the vibrant chaos of Halloween, his lens seeking out unique costumes, genuine smiles, and the authentic spirit of the holiday. As Mark navigated the crowded sidewalk, his gaze fell upon Leo. The robot costume, with its gleaming silver finish, its intricate details of bottle caps and repurposed plastic, and the small, blinking fairy lights in the helmet, stood out amidst the sea of mass-produced costumes. It wasn't just the visual appeal, it was the story etched into every fold of cardboard, every carefully applied piece of tape. He saw the love, the effort, the raw creativity that had gone into its making. It was a masterpiece of ingenuity, a child's dream brought to life by a parent's unwavering devotion. The stark contrast between the humble materials and the magnificent result captivated him. This wasn't just a costume, it was a work of art, a symbol of resourcefulness and boundless imagination. Mark raised his camera, his finger instinctively finding the shutter button. He didn't ask permission, a common practice for street photographers who sought to capture unposed, authentic moments. He framed the shot, focusing on Leo's joyous posture, his little hand outstretched for candy, the helmet slightly askew, revealing a sliver of his beaming face. He took several rapid-fire shots, capturing the robot from various angles, the blinking lights creating tiny streaks in the low light. The ambient glow from a nearby porch light caught the silver paint just right, making the cardboard shimmer like real metal. He could feel it, that familiar surge of excitement that signaled a truly special capture. This, he knew, was more than just a Halloween photo. It was a story waiting to be told. He lowered his camera, a satisfied smile touching his lips, and then, as quickly as he had appeared, he melted back into the crowd, his mission accomplished. David, engrossed in Leo's excited chatter about the candy haul, never even noticed him. The days following Halloween settled back into David's familiar rhythm of work, chores, and bedtime stories. The robot costume, carefully dismantled, was tucked away in a closet, a cherished memory. The fines from the HOA for an unapproved shed edition, a completely separate issue from the lighting debacle, had begun to pile up, adding another layer of stress to David's already strained finances. He'd contested that one too, but the HOA, fresh off their public relations nightmare with Karen Ellis and the motion lights, seemed even more determined to assert their authority, if only to prove they still had some. Meanwhile, a quiet storm was brewing online. Mark Jenkins, after meticulously reviewing his Halloween photos, knew he had something special with the robot costume. He loved the story it told, the implied narrative of a parent's dedication. He processed the images, enhancing the colors, sharpening the details, bringing out the vibrant ingenuity of the homemade creation. He then selected the best shot, a perfectly composed image of Leo in his gleaming robot costume, his small hand reaching for candy, the fairy lights in the helmet twinkling. He titled the photo simply, "The Cardboard Knight," and uploaded it to his Instagram and Flickr accounts, accompanying it with a brief caption. "Saw this incredible homemade robot costume on Halloween night. Pure ingenuity and a lot of love. The best costume I saw all night." Mark's initial expectation was a modest flurry of likes and appreciative comments from his usual followers. What happened next, however, far exceeded his wildest dreams. The photo, seemingly unremarkable in a sea of Halloween content, struck a chord. It was authentic. It was heartwarming. It was a stark contrast to the endless stream of commercialized, mass-produced costumes. People were captivated by the craftsmanship, by the obvious effort and love that had gone into its creation. The image began to be shared, first by his followers, then by their followers, spreading across social media platforms like wildfire. It resonated with parents who understood the struggle of providing for their children. It resonated with artists who appreciated the creativity. It resonated with anyone who cherished genuine effort over manufactured perfection. Within hours, the Cardboard Knight became a phenomenon. The comments section exploded with admiration. "This is what Halloween is all about!" someone exclaimed. "The detail is incredible," another wrote. "That dad deserves a medal." Soon, major photography blogs picked it up, then lifestyle websites, and eventually, even national news outlets began sharing the image, often crediting Mark Jenkins and calling it the most heartwarming greet. Halloween costume of the year. The photo, a simple snapshot of a child in a homemade costume, was suddenly everywhere, gracing millions of screens, touching hearts across the globe. David, oblivious to the digital frenzy, was deep in the trenches of his freelance work, trying to meet a tight deadline. He rarely scrolled through social media, his free time too precious to be spent on casual browse. He was still battling the HOA over the shed, a new fine having arrived just that morning, further tightening the financial noose around his neck. His focus was entirely on getting by, on managing the delicate balance of work, fatherhood, and their ever-present financial constraints. It was Sarah, his sister, who finally broke through the digital static. Her voice, when she called him, was a mixture of excitement and utter disbelief. "David, have you seen the internet? You're famous. Leo's famous." She practically shrieked into the phone. David, confused, frowned. "What are you talking about, Sarah? What internet?" "The robot costume. Someone took a picture of Leo, and it's gone viral. It's everywhere. It's on every news site, every blog. They're calling it the Cardboard Knight." David dropped the phone, his mind reeling. Viral? Famous? His homemade robot costume? It sounded utterly preposterous. He fumbled with his phone, navigating to a news website Sarah had mentioned. And there it was. His breath caught in his throat. A high-resolution image of Leo, perfectly composed, bathed in a soft, ethereal light, stood proudly in his magnificent robot costume. The article accompanying it gushed about the ingenuity, the love, the pure magic of the creation. Below the article, a torrent of comments, hundreds of thousands of them, poured in, praising the costume, the father, the spirit of Halloween. His little Leo, his cardboard robot, was a global sensation. It was a dizzying, disorienting experience, like stepping into an alternate reality, a world where his humble efforts had somehow captured the imagination of millions. The sudden, unexpected thrust into the digital spotlight was a disorienting experience for David. His phone, previously a tool for work and occasional calls with Sarah, now buzzed incessantly with notifications, messages, and calls from numbers he didn't recognize. His email inbox, usually a manageable stream of work-related correspondence and bills, became an overwhelming deluge of interview requests, congratulatory messages, and outright bizarre-ass propositions. It was exhilarating, baffling, and frankly, a little terrifying. He felt like he was caught in a whirlwind, spun around by forces entirely beyond his control. Leo, on the other hand, took to his newfound fame with an innocent, unself-conscious delight. He reveled in the attention, proudly recounting the story of his super cool robot to anyone who would listen. He didn't quite grasp the concept of viral, but he understood that his costume was making people happy, and that was enough for him. David watched him, a mixture of pride and protectiveness swirling within him. He wanted Leo to enjoy this moment, but he also felt an overwhelming urge to shield him from the potential downsides of sudden public scrutiny, to preserve his innocent joy in the face of an increasingly complex brass situation. Amidst the chaos, one email, marked urgent, business inquiry, caught David's eye. It was from Global Costumes Inc., a name he recognized as a major player in the Halloween industry. A company whose elaborate, mass-produced costumes adorned the shelves of every major retailer. He opened it, his heart thudding with a mixture of suspicion and curiosity. The email was surprisingly direct, almost breathless in its enthusiasm. It expressed profound admiration for the Cardboard Night costume, praising its originality, its heartwarming story, and its undeniable viral appeal. Then came the offer. Global Costumes Inc. wanted to license the design. They wanted to mass-produce the Cardboard Night for their next Halloween line. They offered a significant upfront payment, a percentage of royalties, and a full team of designers and marketers to bring the vision to life. David read the email again, then a third time, each word sinking in. Slowly. Surely. Licensing? Royalties? It sounded too good to be true. A fantastical proposition straight out of a movie. His mind, still reeling from the sudden attention, struggled to comprehend the magnitude of the offer. This wasn't just a fleeting moment of internet fame. This was a potential lifeline, a tangible solution to the endless financial anxieties that had plagued him for years. He thought of the mounting bills, the constant worry about making ends meet, the sacrifices he had quietly made. This offer, if real, could change everything. It could lift them out of hardship, provide Leo with opportunities he could only dream of, and finally allow David to breathe, truly breathe, for the first time in years. He immediately called Sarah, his voice trembling with a mixture of excitement and disbelief. Sarah, ever the pragmatist, was cautious but equally thrilled. "David, this is huge. But you need to be careful. Get a lawyer, a good one, who specializes in intellectual property. Don't sign anything until it's thoroughly reviewed." Her advice was sound, a necessary anchor in the swirling current of overwhelming emotions. David, following Sarah's guidance, spent the next few days in a whirlwind of consultations. He found an intellectual property lawyer, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Ms. Chen, who had a reputation for fierce advocacy. Ms. Chen, initially skeptical, became increasingly impressed as David recounted the story. Her professional demeanor, slowly giving way to a genuine enthusiasm for the heartwarming narrative and the undeniable market potential of the Cardboard Night. She meticulously reviewed the offer from Global Costumes Inc., negotiated favorable terms, and ensured that David's creative rights were fully protected. The initial upfront payment alone, a substantial six-figure sum, felt like an unimaginable fortune, enough to pay off all his lingering debts, build a comfortable savings cushion, and finally address the long-deferred BIA repairs on their aging apartment. The process unfolded surprisingly quickly. Global Costumes Inc., eager to capitalize on the viral momentum, moved with impressive speed. Their design team, working closely with David, translated the homemade aesthetic of the cardboard robot into a production-friendly design, carefully preserving the charm and ingenuity of the original. They even incorporated some of Leo's imaginative ideas, ensuring that the essence of his dream robot remained intact. Marketing campaigns were launched, early prototypes were showcased, and the anticipation for the Cardboard Night costume reached a fever pitch within the Halloween industry. David, once a struggling single dad, found himself collaborating with a major corporation, his humble creation poised to become a nationwide Halloween sensation. Life, once a relentless struggle for survival, began to transform in subtle, yet profound ways. The constant knot of anxiety in David's stomach began to loosen. The late-night freelance work became optional, then eventually a distant memory. He was able to take Leo to the park more often, to buy him new books without guilt, to simply be a dad, present and engaged, rather than perpetually stressed and distracted. The financial security brought a new kind of freedom, a lightness he hadn't realized he was missing. It wasn't about extravagant luxuries. It was about the simple joy of not having to constantly worry, of being able to say yes to Leo's innocent requests without a pang of financial dread. The local news, having initially covered the viral photo, caught wind of the licensing deal. The story of the cardboard knight and its creator, the struggling single dad, was picked up by national news outlets, transforming David and Leo into symbols of hope and ingenuity. They were interviewed on morning shows, featured in human interest segments, and celebrated as an inspiring example of how creativity and love could overcome adversity. David, initially uncomfortable with the spotlight, learned to navigate the media landscape with a quiet dignity, always emphasizing the role of Leo's imagination and the unexpected kindness of strangers. He spoke about the importance of resourcefulness, the power of a child's dream, and the unwavering bond between a father and son. His humility, coupled with the heart-warming narrative, only endeared him further to the public. The newfound financial stability brought with it a profound sense of relief, a quiet, pervasive calm that David hadn't experienced in years. The weight of constant worry, the relentless pressure of bills and budgeting, had finally lifted. He found himself sleeping more soundly, waking without the immediate jolt of financial anxiety. He no longer had to scrutinize every grocery item, calculating cents, or defer necessary repairs on their aging apartment. The apartment itself, once a source of subtle shame due to its modest size and worn furnishings, now felt like a comfortable haven, a place where he could finally invest in small comforts, truly making it their home. He replaced their creaky hand-me-down sofa with a plush, comfortable sectional, perfect for movie nights with Leo. He bought a new, larger television, and finally installed the shelves Leo had been asking for, dedicating an entire wall to his burgeoning collection of comic books and action figures. These weren't extravagant purchases, but they represented a significant shift, a quiet affirmation of their newfound security. He also made a point of setting up a solid savings account for Leo's future education, a dream he had once thought impossible. The mere existence of that savings account, a tangible symbol of security, filled him with a quiet satisfaction that surpassed any material acquisition. The transformation wasn't just physical, it was emotional. David felt lighter, more present. He could truly engage with Leo, listening intently to his imaginative stories without his mind wandering to looming deadlines or unpaid bills. Their daily walks to the park became leisurely explorations, not rushed errands. He finally had the time and the emotional bandwidth to simply be a father, to fully immerse himself in the joyful chaos of Leo's childhood. He even started sketching again, a forgotten hobby from his youth, finding a surprising solace in the simple act of putting pen to paper, a creative outlet he had long suppressed under the weight of financial stress. It was a subtle rekindling of a part of himself he thought he had lost, a reminder that creativity, like love, could flourish even in the most challenging of circumstances. The launch of the Cardboard Knight costume line by Global Costumes Inc. was met with unprecedented success. The initial pre-orders sold out within hours, and the costume became the undisputed Halloween sensation of the year. Parents, inspired by the heartwarming story and the costume's unique charm, flocked to stores, eager to purchase a piece of the viral phenomenon. The costume, reimagined with durable materials and thoughtful design, still retained the distinctive features of David's homemade original, from the cleverly placed bottle cap buttons to the blinking fairy light eyes. Global Costumes Inc. even released a short documentary featuring David and Leo, detailing the origin story of the costume, further cementing its appeal. The royalties poured in, a steady stream of income that surpassed even David's initial optimistic projections. He was no longer just comfortable, he was genuinely prosperous. He bought a reliable, fuel-efficient car, a far cry from his old, constantly sputtering sedan. He paid off the mortgage on their apartment, officially making it their own, a true sanctuary. He even began to contribute to local charities, particularly those focused on supporting single-parent families and promoting arts education for underprivileged children. He remembered the struggle, the quiet desperation, and he felt a profound responsibility to give back, to share the unexpected bounty that had come his way. Amidst this newfound prosperity, David never forgot the man who had inadvertently started it all. Mark Jenkins, the street photographer. David reached out to Mark, expressing his profound gratitude. Mark, genuinely surprised by the costume's impact, was simply pleased that his art had brought such positive change. They met for coffee, and David, wanting to express his appreciation in a tangible way, offered Mark a generous portion of his initial licensing fee, a sum that genuinely stunned the young photographer. Mark, initially hesitant to accept, eventually agreed, using the funds to upgrade his equipment, invest in his craft, and finally pursue his dream of opening his own gallery, a space dedicated to showcasing candid, authentic street photography. Their encounter, a brief, anonymous moment on a bustling Halloween night, had forged an unexpected friendship, a bond built on mutual respect and the serendipitous intertwining of their paths. The success of the Cardboard Night costume was more than just a financial windfall. It was a cultural phenomenon. News channels, captivated by the heartwarming narrative, continued to feature David and Leo, exploring themes of resilience, creativity, and the power of a parent's love. They were invited to speak at schools, inspiring children to embrace their imaginations and encouraging parents to foster creativity, regardless of their resources. David, initially shy in the spotlight, found his voice, sharing his story with an authentic humility that resonated deeply with audiences. He spoke not just about the costume, but about the importance of finding joy in simple things, of repurposing, and of the unwavering belief in one's children. Global Costumes Inc., riding the wave of the Cardboard Night's success, approached David with another proposition: a multi-year deal to collaborate on a line of eco-friendly, DIY-inspired costumes, emphasizing recycled materials and creative design. They wanted to leverage David's unique vision and the powerful narrative of resourcefulness. David, now with the financial freedom to choose projects that truly resonated with him, eagerly accepted. This wasn't just a business opportunity, it was a chance to inspire, to promote sustainable practices, and to show the world that discarded materials held immense creative potential. He envisioned workshops, online tutorials, and kits that would empower families to create their own unique costumes, fostering creativity and reducing waste. It was a perfect synergy of his newfound purpose and his personal values. Leo, now 7, remained grounded and joyful despite the attention. He loved being the Cardboard Night kid, but his biggest thrill was still his dad's undivided attention, their shared adventures at the park, and the endless hours they now spent together building intricate Lego creations. He understood, in his own innocent way, that their lives had changed, that they had more good things now, but his core remained the same, a happy, imaginative boy who cherished his dad above all else. David made a conscious effort to keep Leo's life as normal as possible, shielding him from the more intrusive aspects of their newfound fame, ensuring his childhood remained a sanctuary of play and imagination. The HOA, particularly the infamous Karen Ellis, watched David's ascent with a mixture of begrudging admiration and lingering resentment. The community, however, had undergone a subtle but significant shift. The once rigid adherence to rules, often enforced by Karen, had softened. Neighbors, emboldened by David's success and the public scrutiny of the HOA, became more vocal about their concerns, demanding transparency and flexibility. Karen, stripped of her previous unchallenged authority, found herself increasingly marginalized within the board. Her carefully cultivated image of control had crumbled under the weight of a viral photo and a heartwarming story. She still lived across the street, her lawn as pristine as ever, but the subtle power dynamic had irrevocably shifted. David, now a figure of quiet influence in the community, no longer saw her glares. He saw, instead, a woman who had misjudged, underestimated, and ultimately, been outmaneuvered by the unpredictable currents of a changing world. David's personal life also began to blossom. With the immense pressure of financial struggle lifted, he found himself more open, more willing to connect with others. He started dating casually, slowly, cautiously, exploring the possibility of companionship and a shared future. He realized that while his love for Leo was paramount, he He also deserved happiness, a life beyond the constant demands of single parenthood and financial strain. It was a journey of rediscovery, a gradual reawakening of a part of himself that had been dormant for too long. The years that followed solidified David's place, not just as a successful entrepreneur, but as a genuine advocate for creativity and sustainability. His collaboration with Global Costumes Inc. yielded a popular line of eco-conscious costumes, inspiring countless families to embrace the art of repurposing. He launched an online platform, Crafted Creations, a vibrant community where parents and children could share their DIY costume designs, exchange tips, and celebrate the joy of making something unique with their own hands. The platform fostered a sense of camaraderie, a digital space where imagination knew no bounds and resourcefulness was celebrated. He often hosted workshops, sometimes bringing Leo along, teaching children how to transform ordinary household items into extraordinary works of art. These workshops, filled with laughter and the joyful chaos of creativity, were a stark contrast to his previous life of quiet struggle, a testament to the transformative power of unexpected opportunities. Leo, growing into a bright, confident young man, often assisted his dad in these ventures. He became a natural ambassador for the Cardboard Night legacy, his own artistic talents flourishing under David's encouragement. He understood the story, the journey from hardship to prosperity, and it instilled in him a deep appreciation for humility, perseverance, and the enduring power of a father's love. He learned that true value wasn't always found in what you bought, but in what you created, in the effort and love you poured into something. He developed a keen eye for finding beauty in the discarded, a valuable lesson learned from watching his dad transform trash into treasure. The house, once their modest apartment, became a vibrant, welcoming home. David invested in a spacious backyard, complete with a treehouse that Leo designed himself, a place where imagination could run wild. The once strained budget was a distant memory, replaced by a comfortable abundance that allowed for travel, for new experiences, and for endless possibilities. Yet, despite their material success, David and Leo remained grounded, never forgetting the journey that had brought them to this point. They continued to cherish simple moments, finding joy in shared laughter, quiet evenings, and the unwavering bond that had been forged in hardship and celebrated in unexpected triumph. Mark Jenkins, the photographer, continued his friendship with David and Leo. His gallery, funded by the unexpected windfall from the Cardboard Night photo, thrived, becoming a respected space for street photography, a testament to the raw beauty of everyday life. He continued to capture candid moments, always remembering the power of a single image to tell a profound story, to spark a movement, and to change lives in unforeseen ways. He often used the story of the Cardboard Night as an example in his workshops, inspiring aspiring photographers to look beyond the obvious, to find the extraordinary in the mundane, and to always seek out the narratives that truly resonated with the human spirit. As Halloween approached each year, the memory of that fateful night, the cardboard robot, and the unwitting photograph resurfaced. The Cardboard Night costume remained a top seller, a perennial favorite, its story woven into the fabric of Halloween lore. David would often pull out the original, carefully preserved cardboard pieces, showing them to Leo, reminding him of their humble beginnings. It was a powerful reminder of how far they had come, a testament to resilience, creativity, and the enduring magic of a father's love. The lessons learned from that viral moment resonated far beyond the confines of their immediate family. David's story became an inspiration, a narrative of hope that touched countless lives. He demonstrated that even in the face of adversity, creativity could flourish, that a simple act of love could lead to unforeseen opportunities, and that sometimes the greatest treasures were found not in stores, but in discarded boxes, in bottle caps, and in the boundless imagination of a child. The ghost of hardship had been vanquished, replaced by a future filled with possibility, built on the solid foundation of a father's unwavering devotion, an unexpected viral sensation, and the quiet triumph of a cardboard robot. The crisp autumn air, now carrying the faintest hint of wood smoke from distant fireplaces, brought with it a renewed sense of purpose for David. He wasn't just a father providing for his son anymore. He was a creator, an innovator, a reluctant public figure who, through a stroke of serendipity, had found his true calling. The Crafted Creations platform, which he had launched, rapidly evolved beyond a simple sharing site. It became a hub for workshops, both online and in person, where David, often with a now lanky and increasingly artistic Leo by his side, taught families the joy of transforming everyday items into imaginative masterpieces. His Trash to Treasure workshops, where participants built everything from elaborate fairy houses out of discarded plastic bottles to miniature cities from cereal boxes, were consistently oversubscribed. David found a deep satisfaction in seeing the light of discovery in children's eyes, the moment they realized the artistic potential in what others deemed waste. The success of the cardboard night costume, now a beloved Halloween staple, opened doors David never knew existed. Global Costumes Inc. wasn't just interested in continued licensing, they wanted to invest in David's vision. They provided seed money for Crafted Creations to expand, transforming it from a passion project into a legitimate business. This allowed David to hire a small team, including designers, marketing specialists, and even a logistics coordinator, to manage the growing demand for his eco-friendly DIY kits. He meticulously oversaw every aspect, ensuring that the spirit of resourcefulness and creativity remained at the core of every product and every initiative. He often reminded his team, "It's not just about selling costumes, it's about inspiring imagination and proving that creativity knows no budget." Leo, now a teenager, had developed into a remarkably well-rounded individual. He excelled in art classes, his drawings and sculptures showcasing a unique blend of imagination and technical skill, clearly inheriting his father's unexpected artistic flair. He was also a keen student, his intellect sharpened by years of curious exploration and problem-solving alongside David. He often accompanied David to speaking engagements, occasionally sharing his own perspective on the journey. He spoke eloquently about the humble beginnings, the excitement of seeing his dream robot come to life from cardboard, and the profound impact of that one photograph. He often concluded his talks with a simple, powerful message. "My dad taught me that you don't need money to be creative, and you don't need a lot of things to be happy." The local community, Willow Creek, had also undergone a quiet transformation. The once rigid HOA, still reeling from the HOA Quran debacle and David's subsequent rise to prominence, had significantly relaxed its grip. Community events, once stifled by bureaucratic red tape, now flourished, often incorporating elements of sustainability and creative workshops, many inspired by David's work. Karen Ellis, while still living across the street, had largely retreated from public life within the HOA. She still tended her immaculate garden, but her once formidable presence had receded into the background, a silent testament to the power of public opinion and the enduring strength of a good story. David sometimes saw her in passing, offering a polite nod, a gesture she would return with a subtle, almost imperceptible dip of her head, a quiet acknowledgement of the changed landscape. David's personal life, too, had settled into a comfortable rhythm. He had found companionship in Sarah, a warm and insightful architect he met at one of his workshops. Their relationship, built on shared values and mutual respect, grew steadily, bringing a new layer of happiness and stability to his life. Leo adored Sarah, who seamlessly integrated into their routines, bringing her own brand of gentle humor and creative energy. David often reflected on how far he had come, from a struggling single dad consumed by worry, to a man surrounded by love, purpose, and abundance. He learned that sometimes the greatest blessings arrive in the most unexpected packages, triggered by the simplest of acts, like building a robot from trash, and captured by the unseen lens of a passing stranger. The laughter and joy that now filled his home were far richer than any material wealth, a profound testament to the transformative power of love, resilience, and a touch of cardboard magic.